Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Welcome to the panel discussion, Building Resilience for Sustainable Living. During a visit to Mananthavadi tribal area in Kerala, Amma spoke about the innate attitude of conservation that people of earlier generations and tribal people embodied. I'm quoting her words. Environmental protection was inherent in their very lifestyle, worship, and cultural customs. Reverence and respect towards all creatures and creation was an integral part of their life. It was ingrained in them that they should take only what was needed from nature without exploiting and destroying her. The challenges we face, from climate change to social inequalities, demand a transformative response. Resilience is the key that unlocks our ability to adapt, endure, and thrive in the face of uncertainties and challenges. Education is the catalyst that empowers individuals and communities to understand the interconnectedness of our actions. So we recognize the need for a transformative response that draws upon the wisdom of diverse cultures and Indian knowledge systems, rooted in ancient traditions and holistic perspectives that offer invaluable insights into sustainable living, compassion. By integrating sustainability and mindfulness education into our curricula, we may be able to cultivate a generation of citizens who make responsible choices and drive positive change. So let's hear from our experts on using education and awareness and possibly suggestions to policy to build resilience, empower our future generations to lead the way towards a sustainable and thriving planet. So before calling upon our eminent speakers, I think we only have 40 minutes is what I'm told. And so if possible, if you could speak for 7 to 8 minutes, we might be able to do it on time before the valedictory. So I first call upon Professor Tejaswi Katimani, the renowned figure in literature and higher education, expertise in creative writing. He has produced high-quality literary works.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. सबको प्रणाम. सुबह से देखने के बाद मेरे मित्र कुलपति जी से मैंने कहा कि हो सकता है हम सब बहुत बड़े भ्रम में हैं, क्योंकि बहुत अमन है, शांति है, सुख है, सबको खाना मिल रहा है, सबको एजुकेशन मिल रही है, भ्रूण हत्या नहीं हो रही है, ट्राइब्स, ट्रांसजेंडर्स, दलित्स आर वेरी वेरी मच हैप्पी, सबको एजुकेशन मिल रहा है. ऐसा है तो मुझे बहुत बड़ा सुख मिलेगा. Our students community is a heterogeneous community. हमने जो बात की है, हमने जो लिखा है, हेट्रोजीनियसिटी उसमें खत्म है. एजुकेशन फॉर लाइफ, फॉर मी, एजुकेशन फॉर रोटी, एजुकेशन फॉर रोटी एंड बटर नहीं, एजुकेशन फॉर रोटी एंड दाल. क्या गुनाह है इसमें? व्हाट इज क्राइम? If I am happy, I will be happy with a richest person. If I am not happy, how can I bear your happiness? ये विवेकानंद के सभी राइटिंग्स में है। और दूसरा, अरविंदो साहब क्राइसिस फॉर एवोल्यूशन की बात करते हैं। व्हाट इज दैट एवोल्यूशन? एवोल्यूशन ऑफ प्रॉस्पेरिटी, एवोल्यूशन ऑफ रोटी कपड़ा और मकान। जब मैं पढ़ रहा था तो किसी ने पूछा तुम क्या बनना चाहते हो, तो मैंने कहा कि मैं अटेंडर बनना चाहता हूं। आई पब्लिश्ड ऑल दीज थिंग्स। मैं अटेंडर बनना चाहता। क्यों? हमारे स्कूल में एक अटेंडर था, उनको 50 रुपए महीने पैसे मिलते थे। उनके घर में रोज चावल बनता था, सफेद चावल बनता था, जो आजकल आपको हमको खाने से मना है, वो बनता था। और हमारा बहुत बड़ा सपना था कि रोज चावल खाएं। केवल हिंदू नववर्ष युगादि के दिन में हमारे घर में चावल बनता था। फिर आप बोलेंगे कि तुम 2 बार वीसी कैसे बने? मैंने वो 1 to 7 गांव में पढ़ा, स्कूल कभी नहीं गया, गाय भैंस चराता रहा, इसलिए कुलपति बना। मैंने कन्नड़ मीडियम में पढ़ाई की, इसलिए कुलपति बना। मैंने हिंदी ले ली, इसलिए कुलपति बना। साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी लेता तो मैं कुलपति नहीं बनता। साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी लेकर जो पढ़ाई करते, केमिस्ट्री करते हैं, उनको नौकरी भी नहीं मिल रही। फिर हाउ टू मेक एजुकेशन वेलफेयरेबल फर्स्ट। हम क्या कर रहे हैं, एनईपी की पुस्तक है, आप बस दिखाने लाया, एनईपी 2020 द गेम चेंजर, उसमें ये सारे प्रश्नों को मैंने उठाया है। इट इज अवेलेबल इन ऑनलाइन। जो विद्या खाना नहीं दे सकती, जो टीचर विद्या खाना देने वाली विद्या नहीं दे सकते, वो टीचर नहीं है। जो डिग्री who has lost all her dignity and sanctity। अब कहीं भी नौकरी पर चलो तो वो लोग कभी नहीं पूछते कि आप किस पार्टी के हैं, कितनी गोल्ड मेडल आपके पास है। दे विल आस्क अस व्हाट यू नो एंड व्हाट यू कैन डू फॉर माई इंस्टीट्यूशन। तो हमारी विद्या वो नहीं दे रही है, बिकॉज पहले से हम प्रीचिंग मोड में है कि स्वांत सुखाई, मैं स्वांत सुखाई के लिए बोलूंगा, आप स्वांत सुखाई के लिए सुनेंगे और न सुनेंगे, वो नहीं है, वो नहीं चलेगा बहुत दिनों तक। अब देखिए, थैंक्स टू पीएम मोदी जी, लोग मजाक करते हैं उन्होंने पढ़ाई नहीं की। देश को चलाने के लिए या कुलपति में होना, यूनिवर्सिटी को चलाने के लिए बहुत होशियार आदमी की जरूरत नहीं। बहुत होशियार आदमी रिसर्च करते बैठते हैं। कॉमन सेंस की जरूरत है। थैंक्स टू, उन्होंने एक बार कहा, द रिसर्चर्स, हिंदी में बोले, जो शोध करने वाले हैं वो अपने लैब को लैंड पर लाए और लैंड की समस्याओं को लैब में लाए। हम कभी नहीं करते। हम क्या करते हैं, अमेरिकन पेटेंट लेते हैं, हमारा बढ़ा देते हैं, लेकिन हमारे पेटेंट का और इंडस्ट्री का कोई संबंध नहीं होता। तब लाइफ का और एजुकेशन का कैसे संबंध होना चाहिए? मणिभाई पटेल, आप जानते हैं, गुजरात के ही थे, वाइफ की स्थापना की। वो गांधी जी से मिलने गए। गांधी जी मोस्ट वंडरफुल इकोनॉमिस्ट, एजुकेशनिस्ट, एवरीथिंग। तो जाते ही उन्होंने पूछा, गांधी जी ने, वो उनकी आदत थी कि पूछा कि भारत के किसान क्यों गरीब है। वो लड़के थे, मणिभाई पटेल खड़े रहे। तो फिर गांधी जी ने कहा, इसलिए कि गांव गरीब है। फिर गांधी जी ने दूसरा प्रश्न पूछा, गांव क्यों गरीब है? वो चुप रहे। तो किसान गरीब है इसलिए गांव गरीब है। तीसरा प्रश्न पूछा, फिर उन्होंने कहा हमारे किसान गांव इसलिए गरीब हैं, हमारे किसान हाफ एम्प्लॉयड है, सीजनल एम्प्लॉयड है, और एजुकेशन जो हम इंपार्ट कर रहे हैं वो सीजनल एजुकेशन भी नहीं है, सीजनल एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी नहीं है। अब हम सब जानते हैं, यदि हम बहुत बड़े इकोनॉमिस्ट यहाँ मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट कुलपति साहब बैठे हैं, एजुकेशन शुड गिव अस शेल्टर, रोटी कपड़ा मकान, तब शांति आएगी, अमन आएगा। और ग्लोबल सिटीजन, मुझे तो नहीं लग रहा है हमको क्यों ग्लोबल सिटीजन होना चाहिए। आप जानते हैं हर एक गांव में जगत गुरु होते हैं, है ना। मैं कर्नाटक से हूं, मेरी मातृभाषा कन्नड़ है। एक गांव में 10-10 जगत गुरु हैं कर्नाटक में। ये जो जगत गुरु हैं, जगत गुरु मतलब उनका जो कंपाउंड वाला है ना, वो उनकी दुनिया है। शायद ये ग्लोबल सिटीजनशिप वो है? नहीं, वो नहीं है। ये है कि हम हमारी जो पुरानी पीढ़ी की जो परंपरा है, बहुत अच्छी बातें हैं, मैथमेटिक्स साइंस ये सब बहुत अच्छी है हम पुरानी, लेकिन दुर्भाग्यवश हमने उनको प्रूव नहीं किया साइंटिफिकली अब तक। क्यों, कौन करे? जो लिखे हुए हैं पाणिनि, उनको प्रूव करना है। प्रूव तो आपको करना है, मुझे करना है। हम क्या कर रहे हैं? उसका उदाहरण दे रहे हैं। मैं अपनी बातों को यही समाप्त करता हूं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आप अभी टीचर्स हैं, यंग टीचर्स हैं आप सभी, हमको बच्चों को क्या क्या कोर्स बनाना है? 2-3 कुलपति से मैं कहता हूं गार्बोलॉजी पर कोर्स बनाना है। सूरत नगर का गार्बेज कहां जाता है, इस पर आप में से कोई रिसर्च कर रहे हैं? इसका सेग्रीगेशन कैसे होता है, कितना लैंड फिलिंग होता है, कितना तापी नदी में चला जाता है, कितना समुद्र में चला जाता है, कितना नुकसान होता है, पक्षियां कितनी मरती हैं, और पानी जो पीने का है। हमको ग्लोबल लीडर बनना है, तो आपके यूनिवर्सिटी से हम ग्लोबल लीडर बनेंगे, क्योंकि आप गार्बोलॉजी सब्जेक्ट पर काम शुरू करेंगे, रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टमेंट शुरू करेंगे। नर्मदा नदी यहां गुजरात में नहीं आती, समझिए। मैं मध्य प्रदेश का हूं, मैं बंद कर देता तो क्या करते आप लोग? जमीन डूब गई आदिवासियों की, हम मजा लूट रहे हैं। हमको सोचना है नर्मदा नदी का जो पानी आया वो किसानों को सिंचने के लिए है, शहर के लोगों को पीने के लिए नहीं है। तो क्या करें? तो रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टमेंट पर हम ज्यादा सोचे, टेक्नोलॉजी को फ्रूगल टेक्नोलॉजी बनाए, सोलर पावर की टेक्नोलॉजी आगे बढ़ाए। कौन बढ़ाए? आपको बढ़ाना है, मुझे बढ़ाना है। रिसर्च हमको कर, मैं हिंदी का प्रोफेसर हूं, लेकिन ये सब गार्बोलॉजी पर मैं आजकल कोर्स बनाया, मैं खुद पढ़ा रहा हूं अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में। दैट इज अडॉप्टेबिलिटी। हम शिक्षकों ने अडॉप्टेबिलिटी बंद कर ली है। दैट वी हैव टू ओपन। When we will open the way of adaptability, then we will become global citizenship. मैं कुलपति महोदय को, मित्रों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। मुझे बुलाया और सुबह से सुनाया। मैं कहीं भी ले जाता हूं, नोटबुक ले जाता हूं। देखिए ये नोटबुक नंबर 6 है, इसलिए कि रिटायरमेंट के बाद, सर आफ्टर 70 में रिटायर होता हूं। मैं आशा करता हूं कि 10 बरस जीऊंगा, 80 तक वही लिखता रहूंगा जो आप लोगों ने बताया है। ये किताब, मैडम, आई विल गिव इट टू यू, यू कैन यूटिलाइज और गिव इट टू योर यूनिवर्सिटी। थैंक यू। जय हिंद।
Thank you, sir. Speaking about heterogeneity and action-oriented. हिंदी समझते हैं? Action-oriented approach and being able to adapt. Now I will call upon Shri Abhay Mangaldas who's the founder and director of the House of NG, an urban heritage hotel, also the convener of the Ahmedabad chapter, the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage.
Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you to Oro University for inviting me. Actually, the introduction did include the fact that I am also a custodian and trustee of an educational institution, which is perhaps more relevant here. And as an outcome of that, I am also a custodian of the heritage of my family. So the educational institution, just to give you a little background of what I'm going to say next, is an unusual one. It was started in 1947, where Madame Montessori, Maria Montessori, was the first president. And it was based on the tenets of Gandhi, Tagore, and Montessori. I was educated there. My father was as well. All my uncles. And therefore, I can safely say that the primary issue just now, through all the discussions that have been going on, deliberations about education, is changing our definitions. You know, we are caught in definitions, in templates like sustainability, development, success. I'm asking you, what do you consider development? And what do you consider success? Does development mean destroying ecology to build a building which will end up in a landfill after maybe 100 years? Is that development? Can development be at the cost of nature, of Prakriti? How can that be development? How are developers called developers if they fill up lakes to build a building or build roads? So, fundamental problem is with the definition of development. A developed country is considered developed by the amount of GDP it has. In a world where how developed you are is counted by your gross domestic product, which inherently means that you have to keep producing more to be considered more developed. That definition is wrong. Therefore, we need to change our definitions. Anything that we do for sustainability, and we sit in air-conditioned rooms, we travel miles for these conferences, will not work if we are not in touch with nature. We are doing everything to remove ourselves from nature, to insulate ourselves from nature. And development of only humans is not going to work. So Prakriti, the gentleman, Dr. Rajan said, Sanskriti and Sanskar, but I would add, of course, it automatically has huge respect for Prakriti. And today's education, especially in urban areas, is totally devoid of any moral values. And a lot of speakers have touched upon this. And in spite of that, I don't know, even the new education policies talks about various things, but essentially, if the values are not carried forward, and everywhere we go outside the school, what is taught in school, you don't see outside, the chances of that sticking in a young mind, I'm talking about young minds in school, are very less. So, to build resilience is itself a bit of a contradiction, because to build resilience for sustainable living, there is no need to build resilience. You should be automatically resilient because you are born in nature, and therefore you should be resilient to sustainability, because nature per se before industrial revolution used to be, the life itself used to be pretty sustainable. So I think fundamentally definitions that we teach in class about development, and second about success, need to change. What is success? Successful person is somebody who earns more these days. So, just like development, the definition of success, these are the two fundamental words, the two phrases which define the course that our life takes, the choices that we make. But in absence of a value system, which unfortunately is lacking in our schools, in our colleges, all dependent on placement and how much salary you get. I think unless we change this paradigm, there is no real effort which can succeed to create a sustainable living. Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question on what is real development. It reminded me of a panel that we had, where we had an indigenous person from the Amazon, and they were fighting, they were activists, and he said, please don't think we are against development. We are not against development, but please don't cut down our forests. So, thank you. Next, I invite Dr. Jyoti Chautiawale, an eminent scientist, educationalist, and social worker who has dedicated her life to the betterment of society. She has a PhD in microbiology and a diploma in teacher training education from the University of Cambridge.
Namaskar. First of all, I would like to thank Oro University dignitaries, and I'm humbled and honored to be part of this panel discussion. It was a bliss to listen to Professor Kapil Kapoor ji, who is guru of Professor A.K. Singh ji or Kiran ma'am. And I'm sure all of us, we have got a lot of confidence to know who am I. मेरी भाषा, मेरा देश, मेरी संस्कृति, ये जो आत्मविश्वास अभी सब वक्ताओं ने हमारे इसमें जो बढ़ाया है, ये मुझे लगता है this is the education for life. Now when we're talking about G20 India's presidency, उसका ब्रीद वाक्य है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, one earth, one family, one future. And we have deep commitment to Indian values, and these values are universal. We are talking about education for life and global citizenship. When we are talking about the world global, when we are talking about the world international mindedness, I must quote और श्लोका कि जहाँ से ये फ्रेज आया हुआ है, अयम निज परोवेति गणना लघुचेतसाम उदार चरितानांतु वसुधैव कुटुंबकम. It says that मैं, आप, मैं, तुम, you and me, that difference, this is mine, this is yours, that difference we should leave. And this is a narrow-minded person's attitude. And we need to grow up out of this. We need to have broad-mindedness. We need to have open mind and to feel that that is one earth, one family, and one future. That is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are talking about G20. We are talking about C20. In G20 also, Prime Minister Modi ji has mentioned about life. That is LIFE, lifestyle for the environment. So there are few strong pillars of G20. I don't want to mention all others, but one is life, which is pertaining to our today's topic. Also, women-led development. All of us, we are witnessing, not only in Gujarat, but everywhere in India, the transition from women development and to the women-led development. Also, Jana Bhagidari, that is people's participation, is the core of G20 or any other engagement groups of G20. So G20, C20, and one of the working groups is Sustainable Resilient Communities. हमें सबको मालूम है what is the resilience. We adapt, we recover, And this is something the positive towards well-being, and we want to remove the burnout from this. Then there are different drivers of the risk, as we have seen, as we have witnessed recently, pandemic or COVID-19. And it could be natural or it could be man-made. And we need to fight it out, and we need to build that resilience in ourselves, in our communities, and all over the world. And all of us, we need to have coherent and concerted efforts, starting from local to global, to building the resilience for the sustainable living. Why we want to have this resilience? Because we want to prevent the losses. It could be economical, it could be environmental, it could be human related things, and reduce the sufferings of human beings as well as plants and animals too. So we need to develop this perspective of the resilience. We need to develop this perspective of, or the lens, resilience lens. And for this, especially the vulnerable communities. And we need to make sure, when we talk about vulnerable communities, we know that tribal communities, just now we learned about it. It could be women, it could be youth, it could be disabled people, and the other things could be the factors are gender inequality and all other differences. So here what we need is, we need to develop out of box thinking. We need to have flexible thinking pattern, innovation, new thinking, what we call neo thinking, and importantly, प्रेमा जी ने उनके पहले भाषण में बताया कि माननीय अम्मा जी ने जो भी उनकी जो सक्सेस स्टोरीज है, उदाहरण, वो सब शेयर किए हैं. एंड वंस वी शेयर ऑल दिस उदाहरण और सक्सेस स्टोरीज विथ ईच अदर, वी लर्न फ्रॉम ईच अदर. So when we talk about sustainable resilient communities, there are many aspects or sub-themes of that which are going to be considered in C20. And these are climate resilience and social justice. We know the climate crisis goes with social justice because the vulnerables, they get affected more. Then environment sustainability, net zero emission management, and very important, all the time we are listening today, when we are talking, when we are listening to Premaji, when we are listening to Swamiji, the compassionate approach. And that is very, very important. And that is rooted in our Indian ethos. So these four things we need to work on. And then I just remember throughout this today's conclave, first thing I must tell you that I'm not a public speaker. So I always go with my notes. Maybe my PowerPoint presentation is prepared and notes. But since morning, I'm looking at everyone. All the eminent speakers or the professors, they are with their notes. So I'm sure that all of us, we are lifelong learners, and that is the learning for life. I just wanted to mention one example. Just when I was listening to everyone, when I was listening to Professor Katimani, that why we are not taking up the local issues, how university students can work on this sustainable and resilient communities. I was part of international curricula. I was teaching in international school, and there was a very unique project for higher secondary students of international schools, and that was World Studies Extended Essay. Every student has to write, the one who chooses this topic has to write 4,000 words of essay. And it is with this global perspective, it is with the international mindedness, and that one who is doing this research, it could be field work, it could be research, it could be secondary data, has to relate local issue with global issue so that you can learn from each other's success stories. So like this, we can inculcate many projects with schools and universities to inculcate the habit of building resilience and having the sustainable living. So there are many success stories we can share. And so as we learned lessons from pandemic, So resilience, we learned it. We can turn that whatever the risk or whatever the adversity is, that what we say is blessing in disguise, and we need to have that attitude. This shall too pass. So again, I'm saying that this is positively associated with well-being, and we can remove our burnout, and we will move on. We will have commitment towards the sustainable development goals and Prime Minister Modi ji's call for life, that is lifestyle for the environment. I must tell you that whenever I listen to the word, I'm specifically saying the word, listen to the word resilience. I always remember poem by माननीय अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी. एंड प्रोफेसर कपिल कपूर जी ने जैसे बताया कि कुछ चीज़ें अपनी भाषा में बताओ ना तो ही वो भाव आता है. In terms of science and technology, I must say those words or that perception of our languages, it has a different information content than just of the other language. So this is a very good example which I want to end my talk with. Poem by Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. आप सबको मालूम ही है वो. हार नहीं मानूंगा, रार नहीं ठानूंगा, काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ. टूटे हुए तारों से फूटे बासंती स्वर, पत्थर की छाती में उग आया नवांकुर. हार नहीं मानूंगा, रार नहीं ठानूंगा, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us lifestyle for environments and what we should be doing towards that. Now I invite Shri Kirti Shah, renowned architect and the president of the Indian National Humanitarian and Architectural Foundation. He has been a leader in the field of architecture for over 2 decades. He was also a member of the Prime Minister appointed National Commission on Urbanization and chaired a working group on urban poverty in India. He was an advisor to Government of India's 50,000 houses project for the war victims in Sri Lanka and chaired a committee set up by the Housing and Urban Development Corporation for strengthening of the building centers network in India.
Thanks. Thanks, Arav, and thanks, Amrita Viswavidyapit, for this opportunity to come here and learn wonderful things which are happening here at the university, and also listen to some very brilliant people on education and other things. So I'm very delighted that I'm here. I'm not talking about education, not a word. I'm talking about sustainability. And the reason I'm talking about sustainability is this: the sustainability concept is the biggest gift to humankind of the last century. We need to understand it. We need to kind of, dig deeper into it. We need to kind of find out how difficult, but how important it is. Because I wanted to talk about sustainability, I did huge amount of homework. I have 10 minutes. No, I was told I have 10 minutes and now I have 8 minutes. And I have 32 slides. The reason I made these slides is this: that I didn't want to speak a word extra when you don't have enough time. And therefore I'm going to go around and very quickly run through the slides and talk extensively about the whole idea of sustainability. Now, what I want to start saying is that this is the title: Building Resilience for Sustainable Living. And I'm talking about the macro context, not even macro context. And I'm saying why it is more than what we see. Sustainability is more than what we see. And sustainability is why it needs more than what we do. We do not understand sustainability sufficiently. Okay, this is the most important statement of my presentation. And as a matter of fact, ma'am, if there is no enough time, I'll be very happy to quit after this particular statement. What I'm saying is this: liberalization of national economies, the global integration, privatization, structural adjustment, corporatization of business, and free rein to market forces, it does spur economic growth. It does promote technological transformation. It does ensure high level of prosperity and affluence for a select few, not everyone, for select few. But it's observed to deepen poverty, widen inequality, causing exclusion and marginalization, promoting wasteful consumerism, undermining national sovereignty, weakening state authority, destroying environment, weakening institutions of justice and democracy, depleting natural resources, tilting investment balance in favor of cities, and especially to the bigger cities, causes cultural alienation and seriously damaging people's capacity to find solutions rooted in their culture, social norms, value system, and traditional wisdom within their own means, and respecting the nature's will and system. All this is changing. And I'm saying, how do we in the developing world cope with these forces and factors will largely determine how humane, how just, how resilient, and how sustainable it is our living. This is the first most important statement they'd like to make. Second point I'm making is this: that sustainability is so important that mere tinkering will not do. It requires very hard choices. What is it? Sustainability demands fundamental and far-reaching changes in the world economic order, world relations, development model, production practices, attitude to resources, and ways of living. It requires changes all this. It says its deeper meaning, sustainability concept has the ethical, moral, and spiritual connotations, implying attitudinal changes and value reorientation. I'm saying, if it is not said in the broader context, it loses its meaning. And what the last point is, this is with the industrial world refusing to part with its privileges, and the developing world bent upon imitating its development model and lifestyle, all of which gets reflected in the city's political system, production practices, delivery mechanism, living environment, and institutional culture. There is little chance of sustainable world becoming sustainable. So this is very important. And we are not prepared for hard choices. We are tinkering with it, and as long as we continue tinkering, we are not going to go very far in the context of winning the sustainability battle. The World Commission on Environment and Development has beautifully defined sustainability. It says, development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. This is sustainable. And Herbert Girard, a very special urbanologist, says the cities occupy just 2% of the land mass, and they consume 75% of the world resources, and they throw 75% of the waste in the environment. And therefore, there is no global sustainability without urban sustainability. Okay, this under the important statement, it says viewing urbanization and development of the cities, especially in the developing world, in the sustainability framework and what it entails in form of fundamental and far-reaching changes in the way we think, where we live, where we produce, where we transact, where we relate. Something of a revolution is required if you really want this to happen. And then it says, if the urban world wants to become sustainable, we require different kind of economics, different kind of growth, different kind of technology, different kind of energy, different kind of institutions, different governance, different vision, and of course, a different type of development. Both our benchmark must change and our measuring yardstick should change as well. This, to me, is also a very important statement, and that is this, that we have got to re-examine growth. Cities, we know, are engines of growth. It is clear now they not only produce growth, they are also produced by growth. Quality of growth, not quantity, means by which growth is achieved, whether in ecological harmony or in a polluting manner. Nature of growth, whether exploitative or just, whether creative or destructive. Texture of growth, whether equitous or imbalanced. And substance of growth, whether leading to contentment, someone talked about today, leading to durable happiness and peace, or greed, strife, and violence. All this will determine the quality of cities we have, the quality of settlement we have. And therefore, unless it changes, nothing will change. Fourth thing that I'm suggesting we should change is the development model, something that Abhay mentioned. A new development paradigm would recognize that economic growth by itself is not development, nor a higher standard of living as measured by material goods. Catching up with the West, and therefore the westernization of the world, is also not development. The new paradigm must be based on a more moderate demands on the earth resources and their more equitable distribution. Moving to a simple lifestyle, evolving development strategies and processes that express local conditions, local aspirations, and control over local resources, according women their rightful place in society, and considering religious and spiritual issues when formulating the new paradigm and changing existing structures and institutions is absolutely necessary if you want to do this. Then I'm talking about 7-part image and 7-part strategy for better cities. I'm saying the revolution that we are talking about in urban problem solving should look to economically productive cities, socially just cities, culturally vibrant cities, economically sustainable cities, politically participatory cities, technologically flexible and absorptive cities, and people-centric cities. This is the 7-part formula if we really want better cities. And if you want to do that, you're going to do this following 7 things. Rethink development model I talked about, questioning inevitability of urbanization and especially dehumanizing urbanization, deepening sustainability concerns, recognizing role and value of culture in our life, ensuring good governance, and reinventing rural sector and repurposing rural living. These are the 7 other formulas that one is talking about. This, and I'll take, ma'am, only 1 minute. I have another 15 slides, will take 1 minute. In order to achieve all this, I'm talking about a change agenda. What should change? And because I'm talking about change agenda, I'm not talking about education at all. I'm saying if this has to change, education has to change as well. Poverty must go. Inequality, especially gender equality, income equality, wealth inequality, and opportunity inequality. Cities show them blatantly. This is Ambani House, and exactly 400 meters away, a festering slum. Environment kind of damage we have done. This slide says there is no city in the world which has environmentally correct situation. Pollution, we know, we have been kind of trying to put together Ganges for a long time. Water, someone talked about today. Justice, can you believe? 65,000 cases in Supreme Court, 42 lakh cases in High Court, and 2.9 lakh cases in trial courts. And we're talking about sustainability. This is Gurgaon, our most new city, and this is the condition. This is a slide from Calcutta, which says cycling is not allowed. And this is Ahmedabad's growth. If you look at the chart, see how the built-up area is going up, how the green area is going down, and how vegetation is going down. Look at this slide. This is very interesting. It says you have 5 people per tree in Mumbai. You have 10 people per tree in Bangalore. And you have 5 trees per person in New York. This is even better. Sorry. This is even better. Have you heard this, seen this slide, which says Canada has 8,900 trees per person. Russia has 4,400 trees per person. America has 776. China has 102. And India has 28 trees per person. 8,953 in Canada, 28 in India. And we always had gurus. We had Gandhi with his 7 social events. Pope Francis Australia said beautifully, he said, we require bold cultural revolution to correct a structurally perverse economic system where rich exploit the poor. And he says, turning earth into an immense pile of filth. This is what he said. And then you have a young girl of 18, Greta Thunberg, talking about what is the crisis that we are facing. And then we have global institutions. We know where we are in India in terms of sustainability. And this is the most important slide. This is the downside is a sustainable environment. And this is what we are making. This is a new world. And my last slide, this one talks about, and I don't have time to explain this, this is a 40-minute presentation. What you see the changes that you see here of all kinds, from population to GDP to foreign direct, all the graph dramatically grow up in the last 100 to 50 years. So what one is saying is this, that the change that has happened, we are responsible. And as a matter of fact, we are responsible, and unless we really change ourselves, unless we change our world, unless we change our economic order in the context of sustainability, we are not going to go anywhere. And education can play only a small role. I'm not saying insignificant role, but only a small role, because what we're going to change is the entire sphere of activities, production, and running. Thank you.
Thank you. You covered a lot of ground with sustainability. Just wanted to share that at Amrita, based on Amma's guidance, we now have a school of sustainability with over 100 PhD scholars. And what they do is there are over 100 adopted villages all over India. And they co-design solutions along with the community in all aspects of sustainability. And it's an interdisciplinary program, PhD. And then the other thing I wanted to share is in Kerala we have this new year called Vishu, and there's a Vishu Kainitam. On Vishu the parents and elders give something, token money or gifts to the children or those younger to them. And what Amma introduced a few years back, along with Vishu Kainitam, Vishu Tai Neetam. So she's also giving a sapling. She's also saying give the sapling to the young ones and teach them to plant it and love it and care for it as one of the solutions. So do I have time for a couple of questions or shall we stop? We can stop. Okay, all right. Thank you very much.